What's up, everybody? It's the movie guy. So I just got done watching the latest episode of The Last of Us, episode 5, Feel Her Love. Spoiler. And I've seen so many people complaining about, Ellie's not being very vengeful like she is in the game. She's just this happy go lucky, like, oh my God, Dina's pregnant. Let's just forget about everything. No, definitely you got to have patience because she totally is full in vengeance in this episode. So I had to throw that out there at the very beginning of this video. This was directed by Stephen Williams, who directed some episodes of Lost, which I always wanted to see that show. It looks really interesting, and he was the executive producer on the Watchmen show on Max, which I really enjoyed that. I thought that was better than the movie, but that's a different video, different topic. So, um, when the episode started out, they're still at the theater, and I was thinking, like, at the end of last week's episode, I was like, oh, they're gonna go off and they're doing something different, they're leaving the theater behind. But when this episode started tonight and they're still at the theater, I was like, ooh, that thing might actually happen from the game now. So I'm not gonna say, but Dina's got a walkie, and the Wolves is like basically talking about their whole routine, what they're guarding and stuff and everything, and laying out their whole plan and stuff. But for some reason, they're not doing any security checkup on this one building. And then Dina and Ellie was just like, there's probably infected in there. But Dina's like, if we can go through it, take them out, and then we can make our way out, go out through this building, and go on our way and stuff and everything. So when they're on their way, I should say real quick, almost forgot this, but the stage I know that was in the game. I remember that because Ellie goes up on the stage, grabs the guitar, and begins to play. But I think that's when we get the flashback in the game when Joel is singing, but I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember, but I do remember the stage part from the game. But anyway, like I was saying, they go off and Dina starts talking about her first kill and everything. And I love that little conversation that they had. And Dina was just like, um, you know, if you tell me to keep going, we'll keep going. If you tell me to go back, we'll go back. It's up to you. It's like whatever you want to do. And I feel like the part of Ellie was just like, let's just go back. But then part of her was like, no, we gotta find these people. We've got to find these people. So they get to the building, and then the smart infected's in there. I was like, oh my God. I was like, hell no. I faintly remember that. I think that's in the game where Ellie was so protective of Dina, was just like, I can get bit. I'm worried about you. Go hide and stuff and everything. And that I think Jesse comes and saves him in the game, like in the show, and he's not too happy. And I guess Jesse and Tommy like snuck. I don't know if they snuck out, but they left Jackson like a day after they did. So, um, and Jesse's not too happy, and that's when basically they run into the scars, the Seraphites, and they're doing that ritual on the wolves. And I love the whistling. Like the whistling's real cool. They kept that in there from the game and stuff with the Seraphites and the guy with the dog and at the base with the wolves and stuff. And I remember that in the game because I remember like if you're hiding, you got to keep moving when they start doing patrols with the dog because if you get too close, the dog starts sniffing your presence, and you got to keep moving and try to sneak out and take the dog out and I think the guy out. So, oh, that was a crazy part when the scars guy took the dude that was hanging. Oh my gosh, that was crazy. But Dina gets hit with uh freaking arrow, and I was like, wait, did that happen in the game? I was like, oh crap, I don't remember. So they go off, and then Ellie finds her way to the hospital, and that's when she sees the spores, which is really cool. Which it's kind of interesting that they used that, they reference that finally in season two because I feel like that should have been in season one. And I agree with a few people um that was talking about it, that knew about that this was obviously going to be in this week's episode from last week from the preview, that maybe when Joe and Test was trying to find Robert, you like in the game they go into this room and they got to wear breathing masks, um so because of the spores, and you take out like two or three infected. So I feel like it should have been introduced in season 1, but whatever, it's fine. But the guys that are breathing and then the spores come out, oh my god, that whole set was just amazing. Like that was awesome. And then Ellie runs into Nora and she's just like, where's Abby? And that's when, like, finally, I think she always had the vengeance against him, but man, she just was like in a different tone. And Nora was just like, oh, you're, I'm not telling you and stuff. And then they ran off, and Ellie's like shooting at her, but then like there's a couple of the other people like trying to take Ellie out, and she goes into the room with the spores, and she's like, "Oh, it's true. You're the one. You're her and stuff." She's like, "Yeah." And when she was just like, I think it was before like they ran, was like when she said something about Joel, hearing Joel scream and stuff and everything. I was like, oh man, you should have said that. And she's just like, where's Abby? Where's Abby? Abby, where's Abby? Where's Abby? And then she just like whacks her with the leg when she was just like, although Nora was also like, you infected us both and stuff. And I was like, oh, it's just like, I'm not infected. And she's like, that's when Nora tells Ellie about when Joel went to the hospital and Joel took out, the people there and took out the main doctor who was um Abby's dad. And she's like, yep. And that's going to probably be a lot of episode 6, because that we're going to have the porch scene from the game where Ellie gets very defensive and mad at Joel when Ellie's like, I wanted my life to be mean something, like I was meant to die in that hospital and you took that away from me and stuff and everything. So they have that little argument there. I think Joel playing the guitar is going to be in the next episode, and I feel like Follow Me is going to be in the next episode. So I'm very excited because I do love the flashbacks, and we're gonna get to the museum. They're gonna go to the museum, which that was a really cool part from the game and stuff and everything. So I'm very excited. So man, oh, I it was just like, oh, I was so glad to see like Abby take out Nora, because Nora was the one that held her down. Oh, that was great. That was so good. Next week, I am so excited for next Sunday. I think the next 2 episodes are probably going to be my favorite episodes. This one was a really good one. I have to say this one's up there, but I don't know how. Maybe I'll rank them. I mean, if I go through, obviously I'm going to go through season 2 again here down the road, so I'm going to have to rank the episodes on my second viewing. But um yeah, it might be, yeah, all the flashback with Joel. And I don't know how episode 7's gonna go. Is it going to be the okay? I think it's going to be the flashback with Abby and her dad. And I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna spoil it. Sorry, like I said, this is a spoiler review. If you don't want to hear this last part, but I think in episode 7 is going to be the part where Abby has Tommy, and Ellie and Abby is pointing each other's guns at each other, and that's when you play as Abby for like what, 4 hours, I think, maybe longer in the game. So yeah, this is going to be interesting to see the stuff from the game in the next 2 episodes. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, and like I said, people were saying, she didn't be